We've got meteorologist Paul Gross on Skype with us from Detroit, Michigan. He's a forecaster for the television station WDIV. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. So, is climate change causing more extreme weather?
Yeah, it is, because what's happening is as the planet gets warmer, we evaporate more ocean water into the atmosphere, and that increases the humidity around the planet. Now, that moisture in the atmosphere, it's water vapor, that is what storms use to create rain or snow. And so we basically have a greater pool of moisture for storms to tap into, and we are seeing an increase in some of those extremes. And I'm seeing here, right here in our area here in Detroit, some definite impacts from climate change. So, for example, some of those are very subtle, and some of those are very dramatic. Let me give you an example first of a subtle one. Now, I moved into my house 22 years ago, actually, and there's a bed of flowers in front of my house called perennials, meaning they come up every year. They're called black-eyed Susans. Now, when I moved into my house, those black-eyed Susans, they bloomed usually by about maybe August 10th or so, and I'd have the last of the flowers lasting into the first week in September. But because of the warming, the steady warming that we've seen here, my black-eyed Susans are now actually blooming a couple of weeks earlier. They're now blooming in mid to late July, and those flowers are gone by the end of August. So I'm actually seeing kind of a transition in a species due to the changing climate. Now, some of the impacts are much more dramatic. So let's talk about something counterintuitive, something you wouldn't even think about. Let's talk about snow. Now, I don't know what you think about what's going to happen with a warming climate with snow, but here in the Detroit area, believe it or not, that extra moisture being tapped into by the storms is actually creating more snow for us in those winters where the storm track is nearby. Isn't that something? Well, how about this? 4 of our all-time top 10 snowiest winters on record, this is the entire winter, have occurred in the past 10 years. So in those years where that storm track is nearby, like this current winter, we are seeing an increase in our snow. So one thing people are asking me about is this enormously cold winter that we've had, and is that related in any way? Well, let me explain something. Climate change, the warming climate, does not mean that we are not going to get extreme cold like this. What it means is that there's going to be a lot less of it, and there's going to be an increase in the heat extremes. And we've seen a lot of record heat recently. We just haven't seen a whole lot of record cold like this. And in fact, you young people, you don't even remember a winter like this because you haven't even been alive long enough to experience the last time that we've had a winter like this. So that's some of the impacts that we're seeing, stuff that's tangible, stuff that you can see and feel and understand, a direct impact from climate change. So I only want to mention one more thing, and that's that I'm a member of the American Meteorological Society, and one of our core missions in the AMS is to improve the scientific literacy of Americans. We want people to be engaged and understand science more, and so TV meteorologists are taking that charge, and what we are trying to do is do more than just the weather. We're trying to do things like this and try to educate people more about other sciences and things. So the American Meteorological Society, EarthGauge, and the National Environmental Education Foundation have all kind of teamed up and formed a partnership that is really helping to make it easier for us TV meteorologists to help do more than just the weather and to talk about some of those other sciences. It's really a great project, and it goes way beyond just what we can show you on TV. So if you want to see some of this stuff yourself, you can actually see some of these things that we work on. Just go to earthgauge.net, and you can take a look at that, and you can learn more about things than you ever thought possible. So that's a little bit about the impact of climate change. I hope you guys have a great rest of the event.
Great, thanks, Paul. Thanks for tuning us into the difference between climate and weather. And it's also interesting that you're mentioning the little changes you've noticed, like the blooming time of flowers, as well as extreme weather events. If you'd like to make observations about plants, you can get involved with Project Budburst, in which citizen scientists submit their data about the leafing, flowering, and fruiting of plants. Project Budburst began in 2007 in response to requests from people who wanted to make a meaningful contribution to understanding changes in our environment. Thanks, Paul, for Skyping with us. Climate.gov from NOAA is another great resource for information about climate change. The dashboard has data beginning in 1880 and shows projections to 2020. And you should check out the 10 Signs for a Warming World. It's an interactive website that provides information and data related to 10 key climate indicators. There's lots of great information there.